Lies are parasitic. Lies by themselves have no power to deceive people. The power of any lie comes from the truth which is inside it, from which it gets its power. The most powerful lies have a lot of truth in them, with just the smallest bit of falsehood wrapped up in those truths. Take Hitler, for example. Let's be honest about him and not turn him into a fantasy bad guy archetype for a second. Hitler used several truths, like the fact that bankers are quite often morally corrupt, and the fact that many bankers are Jews. Both of those facts are absolutely true. But Hitler used those truths to sell the lie that all Jews were evil. That lie wouldn't have been powerful enough to deceive people into supporting Hitler and the Nazi Party if it wasn't for the truth within the lie, which was that some Jews actually are evil, as are some members of every race. As the good book says, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Hitler was a super extreme example of a lying politician, and he is overused in comparisons to modern politicians that people dislike. But I used him because he is a politician who we can all agree was dishonest, to illustrate my point about how truths are what power any politician's lies. Political lies are almost always half-truths. Now, what Trump has done in the 2016 election to sell what lies he's selling, every politician sells some, is to tap into a huge number of truths which the left and their lapdogs in the mainstream press have been refusing to acknowledge for many years, like the fact that they, the mainstream press, have been treating Republicans completely differently from how they treat Democrats for generations at this point. The fact that immigrants naturally depress wages simply by increasing the labor supply. It's just supply and demand. The fact that most international terrorism in recent years has been coming from Muslim Arabs because they are Muslims. The fact that feminist activism of recent decades has turned bitter, crazy, and evil, and the fact that there are, in fact, only two human genders, whether you like it or not. Those are just a few off the top of my head. The Trump campaign used these truths to sell the lie that Trump, a corrupt New York liberal businessman and reality TV star with all the character references of a used car salesman, who married a porn star and then cheated on her, is actually a conservative family man who represents mainstream American values and is going to return us to decency and responsible government. Needless to say, I didn't vote for him. To defeat Trump in 2016, the Clinton campaign needed to separate Trump's lies from the truths he was using and attack the lies with a conviction the American people could see showed they had more truth on their side. But instead, the Clinton campaign was in full denial mode, trying desperately to pretend that absolutely none of Trump's truths were true. The way the Clinton campaign responded to Trump's lies was the exact same way they responded to Trump's truths. They denied everything all the time. So their denials of Trump's lies lacked conviction, because they were done in the same tone as their denials of Trump's truths. Trump is certainly an accomplished liar. He's a politician. It's a prerequisite. But there was, in fact, more truth in his lies than in Clinton's lies. And the American people, at least in the districts that actually counted for an electoral college victory, recognized that. Clinton seemed aloof and disconnected from the mainstream. Trump was telling America that a rising tide of prosperity from his policies will lift all boats, while Clinton was telling America that we needed to be ashamed of being super racist, sexist, mean bullies to marginalized victim groups, and that she was going to fix that problem. There was a certain amount of truth in Clinton's lies, too. White identity politics is globally on the rise right now in response to outrages like the Rotterdam scandal. But there was nowhere near as much truth in Clinton's lies as there was in Trump's lies. Also, it is far easier to win by pandering to the majority than by pandering to a coalition of minorities. Eventually, you're going to have to choose between the gays and the Muslims as to which one's more important, and either way you go on that, you're going to lose one of those groups. Meanwhile, Trump was building his Republican big tent as big as possible, even scooping up people who I thought never in a million years would endorse him. I hope that some of what I'm saying here makes sense to you. It's not enough to just deny all the time. Anytime you think someone is lying, ask yourself, what is the truth that is giving their lie the power to deceive? Only then can you understand how that lie actually works.